What's going on, everybody? This is Bronco Juggalo, and today we are talking about the 1995 film Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This film was directed by Joe Chappelle, stars Donald Pleasence as Dr. Loomis, as always, and stars Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. Yes, little Tommy Doyle from the original is all grown up now. And back to play the Shape is maybe my favorite Michael Myers of all time, George P. Wilbur. Absolutely love George's work as Michael Myers. I think he's an amazing Michael Myers. So this movie takes up about 6 years after Part 5. Michael, who is released by the Cult of Thorn at the end of 5, Michael and the Cult of Thorn are after Jamie Lloyd and her baby. Few facts here. Jamie Lloyd is not played by Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris wanted to be in this film. She even got emancipated from her parents so she could make her own decisions to be in this movie. She paid thousands of dollars for that to happen, and they were supposed to give her the part, and they ended up giving it to somebody else, which has not made her happy over the years, and it's caused quite a bit of controversy, which I'm not going to get into all that because I want to focus on the movie. This is Donald Pleasence's last appearance as Dr. Loomis. Unfortunately, he passed away, I think, either right after or during the making of this film. And at the end of the film, we see that the film is dedicated to his memory, which is a really nice touch. I'm really glad they did that because he loved this series, and that's why he continued to do it all the years. Even when some of the sequels met with negative responses, he still continued to do them because he loved it so much. Now, as I said, this takes place 6 years after Part 5. It also took them about 6 years to give us this film. At the time, interest in slashers had been waning, and we had yet to get Scream, and we had yet to get New Nightmare, which would help rekindle the interest in slasher films. We're going to do our pros and cons, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the different variations of this film. So I'm going to start with my cons first because there aren't very many of them. Unlike most people, I love this movie. Part 6 is one of my absolute favorite films in this franchise. I think it's a great film. I enjoy every second of it. I did fall asleep during it last night, but that's because I was, 3 sheets to the wind. It was super late, and that's okay. I woke myself up, shook off the, cobwebs out of the brain, and started it back from where I last remember being. So, I don't mind that. To me, that's not a sign of a bad movie. That's a sign of a comfortable movie. Now, there are some movies I've fallen asleep in because they're bad, and it's when I try to watch them for the first few times. But this time, this is a comfort movie for me. This is a movie I turn on whenever I just want to chill and relax. So for me to fall asleep during it is nothing unusual because I really just feel totally at peace with myself when I'm watching it. Isn't that a weird thing to say, that you feel at peace with yourself while watching a horror film? One of my bigger cons is the cult. And let's put this in perspective, because I have said numerous occasions that I enjoy the Cult of Thorn storyline. And I do. There's just a few things I think they could have done a little differently, a little better, to give it a little more credence. When they wrote the Cult of Thorn storyline, starting with Part 5, they just kind of threw it in there. And so they really didn't have a whole backstory built around it. They didn't know what to really do with it. And that kind of carries over into Part 6 a little bit. You see that. I think that the Cult of Thorn is a great storyline. I just think it was a bit poorly executed. Now, that being said, I do enjoy it a lot. One of my big pros is how the cult ends up in this. And right now we are talking about the theatrical version. Okay, the theatrical version is one of my favorites. I love the theatrical version. The producer's cut is okay, but I don't like it near as much as I like the theatrical. My next con is the little boy Danny. The actor that played him, I can't even remember his name right now. I don't like him. I think he's a terrible actor, especially at the end where he's going, "Mommy, Mommy, help, Mommy." I just didn't buy it. I didn't like it. And it's obvious that he didn't do very much after this, since he doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page. My final con with this film is that they did go with a different actress than Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris was the right age. She would have been perfect for the role. It was her role. Well, guys, honestly, that is it for my cons. Everything else in this movie I love. I love this film so much. First pro I want to talk about is the mask. I think this Part 6 mask is the best mask in the franchise. Yes, I said it. Now, it has some good runner-ups and some good competition. One and the new one. I really like this new one. Even the Rob Zombie mask, I will say, is a really nice mask. That's the only good thing that came out of that film was the mask. Well, yes, I love the mask in Part 6. They took off the eyebrows that they had in Part 5. They totally did away with Part 4 and 5's mask. And the Part 6 mask just looks so good. My next pro is that Michael is at his most brutal ever. The kills that he does are just intense and insane. He spares nobody. He has no remorse. Now, he never had remorse, but it's even ramped up to like 50 in this. This is Michael Myers at his most brutal, visceral. The kills in this movie are insane. We get to see a guy's head explode. We get to see necks get twisted all the way around and ripped off this thing, and you can see all the gore there. Really cool. My favorite kill in this, I'm going to give it to you now, but my favorite kill is probably the simplest kill in the movie. It's at the very beginning, the nurse that is helping Jamie. He picks her up and he just puts her against the wall. And on the wall, there just happens to be a spike. I guess you could kind of put that as a con. There's a few plot conveniences that were just conveniently there, like the spike on the wall. But I didn't mind it. It's fun. So those of you that have seen the movie know that Jamie Lloyd was captured by the cult and held captive for these years, and she is now having a baby. The baby is being used in a ritual, I believe, to just become the next Michael. They want it to be total evil. They tried to use the Cult of Thorn to give Michael a bit of a backstory, which I really didn't like. But in this theatrical version, not the producer's version, in the theatrical version, there is a few lines spoke by the cult leader that make you realize that the cult was formed around him and around what he was. That he was just pure evil. Unadulterated, perfect evil. And they formed around that in this. And that's how I've always taken it. Some people say, no, the cult, they're trying to say that the cult created Michael. That's not what they're trying to say here. I don't think that's what they're trying to say at all. And I like that Michael has gained that notoriety, that Michael has gained to where somebody would actually build a cult around him. A pro for me here is Paul Rudd. I thought Paul Rudd did a great job. I've heard a lot of people talk crap about Paul Rudd's character and about Paul Rudd's acting in this, and I think he was really good, especially for one of his first outings. I thought he did a great job. I really enjoyed him. Another big pro is the music by Alan Howarth. We have our traditional themes, and up to this point, everything they've done has been real synthy, real 80s, you know. In this one, he kind of mixes it more with a little more rock and roll, a little more metal style. And I really enjoy that. It sounds really good and really amazing. I love the music to this. This is one of the soundtracks that I want to get that I haven't got yet. I do want to get the soundtrack for Halloween 6 because it's amazing. I talked a little bit about Michael's brutality, and I talked about the kills and how brutal they are and how much I love them, and I love the gore that they did in this film. They did not try to copy the original. As I've stated before, John Carpenter is the only one that could really pull that off, in my opinion. They decided to go full out with the gore and the kills in this, and I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when Michael completely decimates the entire cult and just kills them all. And that is a great scene. I love it. It just shows his brutality. It shows how much Michael is filled with rage and evil and hatred. And he just goes nuts on everybody. And it also shows that you cannot control Michael Myers. No matter how much you try, no matter how much he might let you think that you have control, You cannot control him. I enjoy the story of this film. A lot of people say it's really convoluted, that we have a producer's cut and a director's cut, which is the theatrical cut. And then the writer wanted a whole different movie. And then we have a hybrid cut that's done like for television, and just so many different versions of this movie that they say it's a big convoluted mess. I just stick to the theatrical cut on the story that I like, and I like that story. We have the story of a cult trying to influence Michael and trying to influence what is to come. We have the story of a cult that learns that it cannot do that Michael cannot be controlled, that he is just basically an evil force of nature. We have Dr. Loomis there coming out of retirement to take on Michael Myers once again. Michael, as far as Loomis was concerned, was done with the end of Part 5. He was totally got it out of his life and out of his system, because Michael has now been gone for 6 years. He thought it may have finally been over. But when Michael came back, Dr. Loomis got up and did what he had to do. And thank you so much to the late, great Donald Pleasence for being just a great actor and making a great character that we all love. I really enjoy the cinematography in this film. I think it's the best since Part 2 and Part 1. And it was done by a guy named Billy Dickinson, who I think does an absolute amazing job. This is going to be a little weird, but I love the character Miss Blankenship. I love that creepy old woman who just happens to be one of the bad guys. I think that's cool. I really enjoy that. You didn't see it coming. It was out of left field, and I just loved it. Another big part of this movie that I absolutely love, one of my favorite scenes, is when the little girl is under the tree going, "Mommy, it's raining red. Mommy, it's raining red." And then we pan up and we see the dead body in the trees. And it's just so shocking. At least it was when you first saw it way back in the day. My final pro in the film is the portrayal of Michael Myers. George P. Wilbur has returned, and I just love his style. I love the way he portrays Michael. He's got the walk, he has the look, he's got the body build for it, and they even wanted Michael to look slimmer for some reason in the last part of this film, which I don't get. So at the very last part of the film, they did some reshoots with somebody else's Michael. And I've never understood that. I don't know why they wanted to do that. Michael looked great, as a bigger guy. I didn't mind it at all. So, George P. Wilbur, thank you for being a great Michael. So guys, as I said, there are a few different cuts of this film. You have your theatrical cut, you have your producer's cut. Now, this unrated producer's cut does change a little bit of stuff. It's basically an entirely different movie. We get a different Cult of Thorn in this. We get a different Michael. We get a Michael who looks like he is completely under the control of the Cult of Thorn. And we get a Michael who can be stopped, of all things, by a bunch of little stones, supposed on quote-unquote Celtic ruins, and that makes no sense whatsoever. And they really delve into the backstory of Sam Hain on that. They do it a little bit in the theatrical cut with Miss Blankenship telling the story of Sam Hain and the story of Halloween. But in this one, in the producer's cut, they make it almost a mystical force that has power over Michael, and I didn't like that at all. Now, that being said, there are some really great kills and differences in this movie. There is some good stuff where Michael is just brutal. That hospital scene where I talked about, or not hospital really, but, well, it's in Smith's Grove, where Michael takes out the entire cult. Totally different. So, overall, this is still a good movie, overall. It's called by a lot of fans Halloween 666. I never liked that. I do want to get that collection, though, the Halloween 666 version, because it has all these different versions of the Halloween films, and I love it, and I want to get that. I've never gotten it. I've never been able to get my hands on a copy. I'm still deciding, guys, whether or not I'm going to do a full-out review of the producer's cut. If I do decide to do that, it will be after I finish the series on the rest of them. I may include the producer's cut in the ranking like I did before. I don't know. When the new movie comes out, that's going to change my entire ranking, so we'll go from there when it gets here. And when I finish this series, I was hoping to have all these Halloween films done before the new movie, and I don't think it's going to happen. But that's okay. When the new movie comes out, I will put that review in there just slide it right in, and we'll go from there. I'm going to give you a spoiler-free, my thoughts, quick thoughts on it from the theater, as I usually do, and then I will probably do a spoiler-filled review. So we have those to look forward to. I want to thank everybody that stays subbed to me. I want to thank everybody who likes my videos, everybody that watches my videos. So this is Bronco Juggalo saying peace.